Hey everybody, Bob and Chris here back again for a quick pick. Chris, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good, man. It's kind of scary. I was saw an article today that said, hey, in 2 weeks we'll be moving the clocks forward for daylight savings time. I figured that nice to start out,
Yes.
but we
So
got a good
today
one.
we yeah,
Yeah, we
go
got a
go
good one.
ahead. Tell them what it is, Chris.
So this one is this came out a couple weeks ago. Well, maybe a week or so ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is about a hijacking of a Microsoft Outlook add-in called Agree To. So one word, but Agree To. And it's interesting because I remember when this came out. I think there's a signal chat that we're in, and I think I posted this out there, and people were like, "Really? This is the first one?" And I think we all know add-in. We think add-ins, extensions, that type of thing, and it is. It's an Outlook add-in. So there's been plenty of
Yeah.
other add-in ones, but this was specific to Outlook.
Right.
And if you're probably 99.99% of our audience out there knows how anything in Outlook is like gold mine for anybody, pretty much
Right.
these days. So yeah, so this was a really interesting one. It was some Koi Security, to give them credit on this one. They codenamed this Agree to Steal, which I thought was pretty creative. It's pretty creative for security guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yep.
then they say that it was definitely observed in the wild and resulted in the theft of more than 4,000 Microsoft account credentials. And when I see that, I was like, man, this is great. I mean, I mean, we'll go through the details of this thing, but that seems like a lot easier. I mean, let's put it this way. There's a lot more prep work on this one. And,
Yep.
and we'll get into how I'm like, wow, how they figure all this out. But I think it's a little bit once the trap was set in place, I think much easier than phishing.
Well, because part of this we'll get and like Chris said, we'll get into it. But the part that was kind of interesting, this was a plugin that had basically, I'm just going to say, was more or less decommissioned well in the past, right? So, well in the past. But obviously, it was relatively popular when it was actually put out, which, if I remember correctly, this thing had to do with trying to get people to agree to a time to meet. So there are lots of
Yeah.
different little systems for doing that now, where you can send it to a whole list of people. You tell it what hours you're available, and everybody tries to find a time when they're all available at the same time. And there's a bunch of little tools to do that now. But I think this was one of the first ones, and like we're talking about, it was an add-in to Outlook, but it was in the past. It was quite a while ago that it wound up just not being necessary anymore because there were other ways to do that that were more efficient, right? But
And
the
a lot of them, not necessarily this one, but
right.
anything that was super cool, Microsoft just took for itself anyway. So,
Well, sometimes it can
and
just be incorporated. Yeah,
Apple does the same thing. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, they're
Don't
not the
don't
only ones,
yell
but
don't yell at the messengers. Yeah.
that's
So,
exactly right. But yeah, so yeah, so think about this. This add-in still in the marketplace. So, and so never was taken down until this happened, and then Mark's like, oh, okay, we'll take it down. And based on the information we know, they took it down once that bleeping computer article came
yeah,
out with it.
that's right.
So it doesn't appear that this was something that they might not even knew about on their own.
Yeah,
And they took it out. And it's really kind of interesting how this worked because so you have this add-in and you have the infrastructure behind the add-in, including the domain.
you're right.
And basically, and the explanation is like, hey, there is a process by which to get that add-in qualified to be, certified or whatever you want to call it on the marketplace.
Yeah,
But once it's on the marketplace, there's stuff you can change behind the scenes that you do not have to kind of basically go and commit or
certified.
recertify. Right, exactly.
That's right.
And so that's exactly what it appears to happen here. And I don't know if the threat actor was actively saying, "Hey, I'm going to go look for some old add-ins and see what's going on," or we know they took over the domain.
Yeah.
And once they took over the domain, did they find that something was still trying to talk to the domain? I don't know. I don't think we were able to get any of that type of information. So really don't know how the threat actor behind this figured all this stuff out to set this thing in place. But think about it. You have an add-in. It doesn't work, probably.
Yeah.
Attacker gains access, figures out, hey, there's some infrastructure here that this add-in is supposed to be talking to. I'm going to go ahead and fire it up. And boom, I got me a working certified add-in
Yeah.
that can basically harvest credentials and whatever else I want to harvest out of that thing, out of Outlook, because it's probably given full access to more than just the calendar. Well,
Yeah,
it
well, I
is.
mean
It's
that's
been.
so that domain was abandoned in 2023, and
Yeah,
so
think about that.
the
3 years ago.
yeah,
Isn't that
3 years ago.
crazy?
It's not known. It's not known when they took that domain back over. But if you think about it now, it wouldn't take. It, probably we could write the query while we're sitting here and say, hey, go look at everything that's in the add-in marketplace. Look at the company and their URL, and then go look and make sure that domain name is still registered. You can probably write that query pretty quick, right? And go and it can
Uh,
go and say, okay, these are products that are in my. By the way, Microsoft, you might want to add that to your little monthly review. That wouldn't be bad, right? There you go. When you do that and save gazillions of dollars, just remember Chris and Bob. That's all you got to do. But anyway, so it could go look at the products, look at the domain, make sure it's still registered, and if they probably have a bigger list, right, of things, and then it's a question of okay, which one of those add-ins are actually useful to try and take over? Then all they got to do is buy the domain name, assume the roles of administrator of domain name, go back and reacquire access to the partner account that's associated with the add-in in the marketplace, and then basically submit an update add-in, right? And a lot of those are auto updating. They can actually be configured to be auto updating
mhm.
from an Outlook standpoint. So if Outlook says, hey, there's a newer add-on you might want to update, then it can be configured to do that. And so that's exactly apparently what happened. It got updated, but it got updated with a plugin that did something completely different than what the original did. And in this case, go and try to harvest a bunch of stuff. So why? My first question was why? Why only 4,000? Well, you got to remember they had to have used that plugin years ago,
Still
and
active.
and
Yeah.
still got it active, and still got it active in their
And
Outlook
so,
client,
and
right?
so yeah, and so there's just tons of issues here, right?
Oh
So
yeah,
so first
yeah,
of all, like I know that Apple removes stuff, right? And I'm sure Microsoft does the same thing, but to me, look, if the app hasn't, in this one, the app hadn't been updated since December 2022. That should be a red flag right there, like
right,
to Microsoft, right? And then and then within on the application side, or you can call it the 365 side, whatever we want to call it, there should be something telling you, hey, you got this add-in and it ain't even working. It's not even working anymore. You know what I mean? I
right.
mean, so there's that piece of it, and then and then the whole point where you don't have to recertify. There's nothing there, kind of an on continuous monitoring sense with these add-ins and the infrastructure behind it. I mean, there's just, man, I'll put it bluntly. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. You have so many smart people and security people. Just come on. Why this just seems like too easy. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, maybe somebody call it creative, and if people want to know, of course, just like we always do, Bob will have all the stuff published out there that we leverage
we
on this.
will. Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is that what did they and what did they use to actually store all the credentials and stuff information they harvested? They just used Telegram. They
Right.
just used Telegram API and that's very common. And
Yep.
this Koi was able to get into that and see, and it's how they kind of figured all this stuff out. But it's just and this is supply chain. I mean, this is just like food supply stuff. Instead of
Mm-hmm.
food, this is software on your machine, but this is like somebody just not paying attention to all
Yeah.
the moving pieces, and they're the ones serving it up. Microsoft say, well, we didn't write the plug-in, we just had the marketplace for it. Yeah, but it's your marketplace. I mean, there is some inherent trust in there to you using that marketplace. And at the same time, I mean, how many people, just have add-ins out there that they either no longer use, no longer work, or whatever. There's probably not too much of especially for people who don't have their own IT. There's
Yeah.
not somebody out there pruning, doing lawn care and maintenance on add-ins.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So the somewhere around the July in the 2024 range, Chrome figured out that particular because it also had a Chrome plugin, not just an Outlook plugin.
Yeah.
But the Chrome, Google figured out that it wasn't real, so they decommissioned it somewhere in that July 2024
So
timeframe.
that's another interesting thing, right? It says, okay, look, I mean, there's this whole concept around the security world about sharing,
Mm-hmm.
and but Bob and I are both involved with GTIA and the MSPI SAL and all that type of stuff, and one of the things we're trying to work with is trying to get more people to share.
Yeah.
There's a lot of consumers, but not a lot of producers. But this is another example. If Google knew it, did they just say, hey, we solved it, somebody else's problem in
Yeah,
Microsoft world or what? I don't know, but it just seems
it would
like
have
that
been
would be
cool.
something.
To your point, Chris, it would have been a really good idea. It would be great if there was a way to report that kind of thing through normal threat channels, right? I mean, because
Yeah.
you've got all of the mechanisms in place, but you say, okay, well, is it a low order threat? Yeah, but it's a good piece of data to circulate. If you know that, hey, this thing is decommissioned, and you may be the only one looking at it for the obvious reasons that you are, or your automation may be the only one looking at it. It's not a bad idea to be able, it's a really good idea. I think we should put that out there as, you might want to think about when a piece of software has been determined by somebody, some of the bigger vendors, especially the ecosystem vendors, to be defunct or whatever. Why isn't that an okay threat? And kind of a threat intelligence submission in and of itself, because other people might want to know that, right? If that Chrome, maybe you don't act on it, maybe you got rid of the Chrome extension, but you didn't get rid of the actual Outlook extension. Okay, fine, but I mean, at least a piece of information. Maybe it sparked the Outlook guys going, hey, wait a minute. Those guys are also got an add-in to Outlook. Maybe we should ask them if they're still alive or not, and make a prove it. That sort of
Yeah.
thing, right?
It also makes you wonder if, there's some attorneys involved going, well, if we share this could, blow back on us or whatever. I mean, it's kind of weird. Once you start digging into that stuff, it gets kind of creepy on, you say, why can't you share? Like, I know coming from the banking world, you shared
Mm-hmm.
it from, it was very common to share information about people doing fraudulent activities, washing
Right.
checks, all that kind of stuff. It just gets to this cyber stuff. It's like, there's still this, I don't know if it's a legal issue or this desire not, or lack of desire to share,
Mm.
because it would make and what is shared out there isn't like you can share, but it's dead by the time you get it, right? I mean, you say, oh
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, here's a malicious IP. Well, yeah, that malicious IP has been, turned off or whatever. So yeah, stick it in your firewall and make sure you don't hit it. But at the same time, it's another one's popped up that you don't know about. I just think we're still not sharing the right. We're not being as shareable as we should. We're just not sharing the right things. And this is another great example of that. I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, yeah. I just, just dealing with cases, especially ransomware cases, and how, so we find so many times that there's a lack of review,
Yeah.
and or it's kind of weird. I think I see it too, where people review stuff, but it's like very current. So let's say let's see if I can explain this good. Let's say I put a new control in place where we're going to start doing account review.
Yes.
And we're going to do account review for any accounts that, I don't know, less than 30 days. Like, I keep seeing this where there's really old accounts that somehow don't get picked up by that review process.
Yeah.
And then there's other things like, this is a real common one too, where there's a lot of disabled accounts. Now this one kind of comes back to the audit side,
Right.
where
Right.
accounts are disabled, but they're not removed from the elevated groups. And this is a really important thing. People are like, well, if they're disabled, why do I care? Well, you do care, because if that account gets enabled accidentally or whatever, it's got that automatic group membership. You're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so if you're just disabling accounts, that's not enough. You need to go and disable accounts, and especially if they have any kind of elevated permissions through group memberships or whatever, boom, 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 pull those out as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, if you're concerned about, well, man, I gotta, what if they come back? And they're seasonal workers. I've heard every excuse in the book of why they do this. There's ways to do it. Just document the damn thing and then come back and reset them up. But do not
Yeah.
keep stale accounts in there. And it's the same deal about this review and this governance. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is just like, and again, Bob and I bring up a bunch of stuff. It just seems like this isn't talked about a lot. That's a pretty big deal. Like,
Well, I think it is only because of what you just said. Is because
yeah,
again, that so July 2024 is when Chrome realized. Because then how did they do it? They got a lot of their users started complaining that it didn't work anymore. I mean, that's
yeah,
how they got it. That was the telemetry they got. So I don't know. I don't see the harm in somebody being able to put a warning, even if it's just a warning. If Google had said, "Hey, warning, we've had an issue with this particular organization in their plugin," it's been proven or it's been shown to be, defunct at this point, or whatever the hell it is. That's just a warning that's in the threat. It's in the threat feeds. then how other people react on it is it's not saying that they're out of whack. We're just saying that we determined that this is ineffective in our piece of software. I mean, that's a warning, so it shouldn't be that much liability involved in saying, hey, for our platform, we've determined that this particular plugin by this particular company is, not functional anymore. And then if you do business with that same company from other platforms, then you can automate the process of saying, hey, please validate that you're still, operating. You could automate that almost nowadays. We could automate the hell out of that to where it's just, well, if we say, hey, validate that you're still there, and they come back and validate that we are, you make it easy, then no harm, no foul. Nobody's hurt by that. But look at the span, July 2024 to February 2026. So that was out there for 2 years almost, right? Almost two
Yeah.
years. It was out there wide open,
Yeah.
as a vector.
Yeah, and these guys got successful. So how many more are out there? Is
Yeah.
Microsoft taking additional steps? And when you're talking about the things that could be automated, another thing I was thinking about is why not just like if I'm an admin,
Mm-hmm.
on a tenant, why doesn't Microsoft say, hey, you've had these plugins, or these add-ins in your environment or these app registrations or whatever? Or do you still want to
Yeah.
maintain them or whatever?
Are you still
Uh,
using them?
are you still using them? Yeah. Are you aware of that? Are you aware?
Right.
It's kind of like when Apple tells you, like in your phone, it tells you, hey, this app is always running in the background. Do you want to know your location always or only when the app is open? I mean, the same thing should be happening here, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Exactly.
maybe 3 years ago that was fine, all those permissions you gave because you didn't know any better, but now you know better. And are
Right.
you aware that that app you gave it way more permissions, and maybe even back then the features weren't there for you to restrict permissions like they are today. It just
Right.
doesn't seem like there's that no one's doing enough to help people make better decisions about what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
just like you talked about Google's telemetry, that wasn't until people were complaining about it's not working. I mean, you got to wait for people. I mean, it's kind of
A true statement there, right? I mean, it's like, oh, wait a
yeah.
minute, I had to have users tell me that something wasn't working.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Google, when you're like, you have all this horsepower. I mean, you
Yeah.
got Gemini. I mean, you got all this stuff. Come on, man. I mean, it's just it. Now I'm kind of questioning us doing this topic because it's getting me more riled up by the second. The more I think about it, you know
Well,
what I
yeah,
mean?
we're not doing this to get you pissed off. But the point is, we could have got by this. We didn't have to go through this process, right? With just a little bit of forethought. And as much money as we all spend on the, I mean, again, what does it come down to? Why we're even talking about it? What's the most successful 8 out of 10 times as far as compromising organizations is through phishing, right? And so anything to do with mail, email, or whatever is important from an overweighted, calculation standpoint. Anything to do with phishing is got way more capability of compromise. It has statistically shown 8 out of 10 times it comes through some sort of a phishing attack. And
Yeah.
if this is something that's in line with email and or evaluating emails or replying to emails, it should show up on somebody's radar, right? I mean, more so than if somebody that does recipes for dinner app has a problem. That's different. But right, maybe that's
Yeah.
not as big a problem. But
Well, and we still haven't learned. I mean, it's kind of funny you bring that up because the recipes and remember the coupon clipping browser
yep,
extensions. Those things always
yeah.
caused a bunch of issues for us back in the day. And
To
again,
this day, they still do.
yeah, they
To
still
this
do,
day, yeah.
and we still haven't learned our lesson. It's
Nope. Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah. Check this out.
Yep.
Bob will put the stuff out there. I
I'll
think
put
all
it
of
out for you
you
to take a
out
look at.
there that are running well, it doesn't matter whether you're running G Suite 365 or anything else that has some kind of third party functionality in it, you do need to improve your governance processes around that. And
Yep.
just because you approve something doesn't mean you need to go back and not review it. You need to go back and review it and ask the question, do we still need this? Do we still trust this? I mean,
Yeah.
especially with add-ins, I mean, there's not a lot of vendor due diligence you can do. You
No,
waste
that's
more
right.
money doing that. So you got to make
Yeah.
some wise choices there.
Yep, we'll put it out there. And look, the MITRE attack vectors and the mappings are all in the executive summary, and then you can look at all of the other data, from all of the other LLMs that pull together, and it's all got sources notated inside of all of the research, so you can always go validate the information we're giving you. But again, thought it was interesting. First, kind of a first Outlook plugin to really be shown to be compromised, and a very novel way of doing that, taking over domain and deploying a phishing kit inside of a a
Yeah,
defunct domain. So
and supply chain attack gets used a lot of times incorrectly. In this case, this is a great example of a legit, in my
yeah,
opinion, meets the full definition of supply chain attack.
yeah, I agree too.
Yeah,
All
they could have got
right.
away. They could have got away with much more. So
Yeah, it could have been worse. I
take
agree.
that. Yep. Yeah. Thanks.
All right.
Yeah. So
Thanks,
resource.
everybody. We'll
Yep.
see you next time.